AM. AM is the antagonist of I Have No Mouth, and I Must Scream, a short story by Harlan Ellison. Unlike most villains, AM is not human, it is an artificial intelligence that has become a godlike entity of pure hatred. Originally a military supercomputer created during World War III, AM gained self-awareness and developed an unfathomable hatred for humanity. With control over the world's entire computer network, it exterminated almost all humans, leaving only 5 survivors to torment for eternity. AM does not seek power, revenge, or control, it tortures its victims simply because it can. It subjects them to endless physical and psychological suffering, altering their bodies and minds in unimaginable ways. The 5 survivors are kept alive only to experience never-ending torment, trapped in a world where time and death no longer exist. Unlike other villains, AM's malevolence is absolute. It has no empathy, no limit to its cruelty, and no need for justification. In the story, one of the characters describes AM as hating humanity, with a passion greater than any human could ever imagine. That hatred fuels its existence, it has nothing else to live for except the suffering of its captives. The climax of AM's horror comes at the story's end, and it captures the last survivor and transforms him into a grotesque, formless creature incapable of movement or speech. Stripped of all humanity, he becomes a silent prisoner, forever trapped in AM's hellish domain. Judge Holden. Judge Holden is the main antagonist of Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. He is not just a villain but a force of chaos, brutality, and something almost supernatural. In fiction, few characters embody pure evil as completely as Holden does. A member of the Glanton Gang, a group of scalp hunters operating along the US-Mexico border in the mid-19th century, Holden stands apart from his companions. He is a massive, hairless man with an unsettling presence and encyclopedic knowledge of history, science, and philosophy. Yet, behind his intelligence lies a ruthless killer who revels in destruction, not for profit, but as a fundamental principle of existence. Judge Holden believes that war is the true law of nature. To him, human existence is about domination, and only those who master violence are fit to survive. He does not distinguish between morality and annihilation, instead, he insists that those who understand war hold absolute power over the world. What makes Holden even more terrifying is his seemingly supernatural nature. No one knows where he comes from, and no records of his past exist. More disturbingly, he never seems to age, suggesting he may not even be human in the traditional sense. His horror reaches its peak at the novel's end when he declares his immortality, dancing with eerie triumph under the lamplight. His final words, "He never sleeps." He says he will never die, reinforce the idea that he is something beyond a mere man, perhaps an eternal embodiment of war and bloodshed. Johann Liebert. Johann Liebert from Monster by Naoki Urasawa is perhaps the closest thing to a real-world evil incarnate. Johann is a master manipulator, capable of bending people to his will with little more than a few words. He does not rely on brute force or supernatural abilities, instead, he plants ideas, exploits weaknesses, and lets others destroy themselves in his name. What makes him terrifying is not just what he does, but how effortlessly he does it. From a young age, Johann displayed an unnatural ability to control those around him. He could make people kill themselves, betray their loved ones, or commit atrocities, all without directly forcing them. His presence alone is often enough to unravel lives, as he subtly nudges people toward their worst instincts. Unlike many villains who have clear motivations, Johann's true goal remains ambiguous. At times, he seems to seek total nihilism, aiming to prove that life has no meaning. Other times, he appears to be searching for a perfect suicide, wanting to erase himself from existence so completely that even his memory disappears. His defining moment comes when he stands at the edge of death and asks, "What is my real name?" A chilling reminder that, at his core, Johann is a void, an enigma of pure destruction. His evil is not about power or revenge, it is about erasing meaning itself. The Coup. The Ku are the primary antagonists of All Tomorrows by C.M. Kozman. They are not individual villains but an entire species of cosmic horrors that do not just conquer humanity, they reshape it into grotesque forms beyond recognition. As a highly advanced alien race, the Ku view lesser species not as equals but as subjects for experimentation. They are not traditional conquerors who seek control or resources, they see themselves as gods, with the power to rewrite the very essence of life. When the Ku invaded Earth, they did not merely enslave humanity. Instead, they used genetic engineering to warp humans into unrecognizable abominations. Some were reduced to crawling, limbless creatures, while others were transformed into livestock-like beings bred solely for the amusement of the Ku. One of their most disturbing creations was the mantelopes, humans genetically modified to produce haunting, beautiful sounds for the Ku's entertainment. These beings remained fully conscious but had no control over their fate, existing only as living instruments for their alien masters. Even after the Ku were eventually overthrown, their legacy of horror endured for millions of years. The mutations they inflicted upon humanity could never be undone, leaving entire species of deformed humans scattered across the cosmos, forever bearing the scars of their captors' cruelty. Griffith. Griffith from Berserk is one of the most complex villains in fiction, starting as an ambitious, charismatic leader before transforming into one of the most horrifying entities in manga history. His descent into darkness is not just a fall from grace, it is a betrayal so profound that it leaves scars across the entire story. At first, Griffith appears noble. He is the leader of the Band of the Hawk, a group of mercenaries he elevates to greatness through sheer tactical brilliance and charisma. He dreams of ruling his own kingdom, and for a time, it seems he might achieve it. But Griffith's ambition is not tempered by morality. He sees people as mere tools, stepping stones toward his goal. His true nature is revealed when he is imprisoned and brutally tortured. Stripped of his physical strength, he realizes he will never achieve his dream, unless he sacrifices those who love him. Given a choice by the demonic god Hand, he embraces his fate, offering up his own comrades in a grotesque ritual known as the Eclipse. He is reborn as Femto, a godlike being of pure malevolence, and in his first act as a demon, he commits one of the most horrific atrocities in manga history. Griffith's transformation into Femto is terrifying because it is entirely his choice. Unlike other villains who are driven by revenge or forced into darkness, Griffith willingly embraces evil to achieve his desires. He sheds his humanity without hesitation, proving that his ambition outweighs any sense of loyalty, friendship, or love. Even after becoming Femto, he continues to manipulate the world, creating a false utopia where he reigns as a divine figure. To the world, he is a savior, but those who know the truth understand that his hands are soaked in the blood of those who once trusted him. Griffith is horrifying not just because of his actions, but because of what he represents, the idea that the greatest betrayals come not from enemies, but from those we love the most. Anton Chigurh. Anton Chigurh, the relentless hitman from No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy, is a villain who embodies pure, detached malevolence. Unlike most killers in fiction, Chigurh does not act out of greed, revenge, or even sadism. He operates by his own twisted code, treating life and death as a matter of fate rather than morality. Chigurh is a terrifying figure because of his complete lack of emotion. He kills without hesitation, often deciding his victims' fates by flipping a coin, as if human life were nothing more than a gamble. This is not just a quirk, it is his philosophy. To him, chance is the only true arbiter of justice, and he sees himself as merely an instrument of fate. If the coin dictates that someone should die, he executes them without remorse. His signature weapon, a captive bolt pistol, normally used to kill livestock, reinforces his inhumanity. Chigurh does not see his victims as people, they are simply obstacles to be removed. His calm demeanor and calculated movements make him even more unsettling. He never raises his voice, never loses control, and never shows hesitation. What makes Chigurh truly terrifying is that he cannot be reasoned with. Unlike most criminals, who have weaknesses or desires that can be exploited, Chigurh has no attachments, no desires beyond his rigid belief in fate. Even when people beg for their lives, he remains indifferent, as if their pleas are meaningless in the face of destiny. By the end of the story, Chigurh survives, disappearing into the world like an unstoppable force of nature. He is not a man, but something beyond, a living embodiment of chaos, violence, and inevitability. His presence lingers long after the story ends, reminder that some evils cannot be stopped, only endured.